Hi to everybody and their neighbor. Welcome back to Gear and Gigs. I'm your host, Jet Stone. So glad you could stop by today. I have with me one of my favorite people in the whole wide world, Reg. Reg, how you doing?
I am doing. How you doing?
I'm absolutely doing. So there you go.
Right on.
All right. Today, as you can tell from having clicked on our thumbnail, it's another episode of Guess the Bass. Can you tell I'm a little excited? I am. I've been looking forward to it. I got him stumped before we start. That's the way I'm thinking about it. He thinks he knows just from like a feeling in the air. So it's going to be interesting to see, whose karma pulls through on this one. Don't pull my karma, man.
I'm gonna try to not pull anything at this point. Although my first guess was one of those stand-up hillbilly kind of basses.
The broomstick
right?
broomstick bass,
Broomstick bass,
which
yeah.
it is not. Spoiler.
Oh, I knew it wasn't because I'm absolutely sure I would have seen that in the studio had it been there.
Right in the corner on the soapbox. Yeah. No, it's a legitimate bass guitar that people use every day out in the world, but it's not
so it's
everybody. Not everybody
Popular model.
uses. It's not a completely unpopular model, but it's not a de rigueur sort of a situation either. So, all right. Well, the rules are as always simple. Are you going to press me for the extra 5 and go for?
Oh well, I thought
20
we
questions
moved
and
to that.
5
I thought the judges have moved to the 25.
I didn't know if that was locked in from previous previous fun episodes.
Let's just call it what it is and abject failures. But I just have to say, I've watched those episodes. I watched them both because I wanted to just see how big a buffoon I really am. And I realized when I was watching it that the me on the screen wasn't asking the same questions that the me watching it would have.
So you're going to try to put yourself in the mindset of
I'm going to try to put myself post-show and ask the questions that, because when you're on the spot, you got 25 and you're thinking about it, you got to guess this thing. And you think you know a thing or two, but holy moly, it's a lot harder than it looks, I'll tell you that.
Well, we'll find out about that today. All right, so the rules are he gets 20 questions. Then which should be primarily yes or no questions, although we'll let a few different things slide in there.
And play the bass questions.
And he'll get to hear the bass, of course. And then he gets 5 guesses at the end to try to narrow it down. If he gets it right, he does, of course, win the Broyhill dinette set, which has been languishing here in the studio for quite some time. But we use it. It's convenient to have, but
I have been longing for a chrome dinette, I got to tell you, for years.
He will in fact win the Broyhill if he can pull it out of his, bag of knowledge. Ooh, you were wondering where you were going to be pulling it from. I was wondering up until the end of that sentence where that was going to be coming from.
I sensed that. I did. I sensed
bag of knowledge. We're going to go with bag of knowledge. That's better than many things. Yeah.
It's more of a like lunch sack, but okay.
A snack sandwich bag.
Yeah, you can fit a marshmallow treat in half a sandwich. And that's about it. Maybe a small bag of grapes if you're lucky.
If you want to hear something on the bass, that will, of course, take up a question.
That will be a question, yes.
And you can pose that when you like. And let's get started, everybody. Hope you're playing along at home. That's why you're not seeing me, because then you'd cheat for sure and look. I know you people. So, you don't get a chance to. You got to play along. If you're playing on the audio podcast, well, you weren't expecting to see it anyway. So you're just along for the ride until we get to the beautiful ending where he guesses it for the first time ever. Here we go. Question number 1.
Okay, question number 1 is I think this is a fair question. It's not quite a yes or no, but I'm going to ask about neck construction, neck through, bolt on, or set neck.
We have a bolt on construction today.
Bolt on construction. Okay. See,
go ahead.
That takes a lot out. That cuts a lot out.
It really does. Question number 2.
Question number 2. How many pickups?
There are 3 pickups.
3 pickups.
3 pickups. And no, I'm not counting a P bass's pickup as 2.
I know you wouldn't.
Yeah. So 3
Um,
pickups. That's
Three
kind of a
pickups.
big one right there, actually.
I mean, what it just did is throw me for a loop.
Now, I didn't
Okay.
say all the pickups were necessarily the same type,
No, but there are three.
but there are 3.
There are three.
There are 3. And speaking of
Okay.
3, question 3.
Okay. Next question would be control layout. Is it it's 3 pickups? Does each pickup have its own volume and tone, or are there switches like pickup switches? What kind of
Well,
what
that
kind
seems
of
like
layout?
multiple questions. So what are you
Is it?
asking me?
Is it? I know it's kind of stretch. It's kind of a stretch.
I don't. Yeah, you got to ask the question. I can't be
Okay.
limited on descriptions.
Does it have individual volume for each pickup?
No, it's 1 volume, 1 tone.
One volume, one tone.
Mhm.
So then I assume next question would be there are switches then for pickup selector.
Each pickup has its own on-off switch.
Okay.
So you're on question 5.
Question 5. So you don't feel too bad about it until I get up into the upper teens, and then all of a sudden it starts becoming a panic.
I'm always surprised you don't want to hear it right away.
Well, I want to get a. This time I'm trying to get whatever I can get up front
Sure.
before I hear it, and then
Okay.
that way when I hear it, I can immediately like start discarding my first guesses.
All right.
But you know what? We may be to that point. So it has 3 pickups, and you can play any one or multiple of the 3 that you want.
That's correct.
So then, give me the neck pickup. Star. Yep, that confirms it. That's
All
a
right.
bass guitar,
So there you go. It is in fact a bass and not a broomstick bass.
not a broomstick bass.
Question 7.
Okay, number 7. Let's do exactly the same thing. Oh, by the way, tone rolled all the way open on all these.
Okay.
No backing off. The bridge pickup soloed.
Bridge pickup solo. Coming right at you.
Okay, question 8.
Yes.
Has this bass been in the studio for more than 3 years?
No. It's a very specific question for those of you at home.
Did you see where I was going with that?
Yes, he is not. You have not seen this bass in my possession or in the studio before. Question 9.
Okay. How many frets does this bass have?
Interesting question, sir. 21.
21. Okay.
Question 10.
Do we know what kind of wood the body is made of?
No, I would guess it to be alder, but I don't know for sure. Question 11, and I will give you a hint. I do like the sound of it best with both the pickups that you suggested on. You heard the neck and the bridge individually, and I think they sound better together.
So you don't much care for that middle pickup.
I didn't say that at all. I just said I like those pickups together better.
Well, I'm not going to waste a question on the middle pickup right now because I'm not a fan of them.
Okay, so question 11.
So question 11 is going to be, oh lordy, is this bass made by Fender?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so it is a Fender bass.
Question 12. I think that's the first time you've ever gotten the brand right.
Well, I mean, it's, the 3 pickups is really what's throwing me for a loop, but it did kind of, the alder body kind of helps me.
And I don't know 100% that it is, but
even guessing that it is,
right.
I've kind of got that. The 3 pickups still has me stumped because I'm not. Okay, this is 12.
This is 12.
Okay, number 12. Is this some weird form of a jazz bass?
No.
Okay.
Question 13.
Is this some weird form of a precision bass?
No.
Okay. Okay. Well, there's a whole lot of things I know it isn't. This puts me ahead of the game compared to the last 2
If only
games.
the show was called Guess the Bass That It's Not.
Guess the bass that it's not, right? Then I could name any 5, right? And so long as it's none of those 5, I'm a winner. Because I really want that broil.
I know, you do. It's a really nice one.
I've never won a prize that nice. Okay.
I mean, 4 chairs and a table.
Is it some sort of Jaguar bass?
It is not. Oh. Question 15. The silence is deafening.
Is it some sort of artist's model bass?
That's a good guess, but no.
All right, so I'm thinking of a few questions that I haven't asked.
Question 16.
And I'm not sure will help me.
Those are the best kind.
Right? 3
Yeah.
pickups.
I mean, you had this feeling at the beginning of the show. You were like, I think I know what it is. And I thought maybe you're going to pull
See,
another
that feeling
Scooby-Doo
is
van.
right
sort
out the
of thing,
window.
but no.
Right out the window.
Yeah.
Because it can't be now what I thought it was
see.
before. What I thought it might have been, my feeling, that would be in that pile of that's what
I
it's
had a feeling.
All right, how many strings does this bass have?
It has 6 strings.
6 strings. Okay. All right, that actually helps more than I thought because I'm thinking 4 and 5 and you're saying 6. Okay. Okay. So, all right, let me ask you this question. Are the gauge of these strings smaller than they would be if, say, this was just a normal P bass?
Well, the higher ones are. It might be slightly lighter gauge, but not tremendously. But the higher 2 are higher. Of course, you wouldn't have to necessarily do that, but that's the way I did it.
I mean, I feel like I'm closer than I've ever been before, and I'm still.
We'll go over what you know.
Okay. So if you take a guess, that counts as a question, right?
It does, yeah. But of course, you
So
get
that
5
would be
guesses at the
number-
end, so you
number
can still
19
gather knowledge for
still
2
gives
more
me
questions.
that. Okay. Is it a bass 6?
Wow, you're just going to go right out with a guess.
I am. I'm gonna just jump on it.
So you're asking me if it's a Fender Bass 6.
Yes.
It is a Bass 6. Oh my God!
Roy Hill's mine, and I did it under the 20. Holy crap! Well, you know what really helped? It's like, because I wasn't thinking it. Because that's why you're so sneaky. 3 pickup Fender, and it's not any of these other things. Is like, oh my god, okay, but of course, I should start with how many strings these stupid things have.
It is, in fact, a bass 6. Look at you.
Vindication. Vindication. I'm telling you. And I'm going to give credit to the fact that I watched the previous 2 episodes of Guess the Bass.
Oh,
Got as furious and frustrated as anybody else who might have been watching it of the lack of intelligent questions.
Well,
right?
They were all intelligent questions. It's just, were they the right questions to help you?
Well, the right questions are usually the smarter questions to ask.
But you did the bolt on, that was good. The body, the pickups, those were all good. Number of strings was the clincher, I think.
That was the clincher. Once you said 6 strings, I was like, oh, this is, yeah. I mean, I'm sure Fender makes some 6-string big, like the 5 strings, but 6-string versions of those. But wouldn't those be artist models, right? And that's why I kind of once I kind of figured out that it was a Fender, and that was the Alder that made me think. As soon as you said it could be Alder, it's like, oh, then it could be a Fender, right?
Now, to be fair, it's a Fender Squire. Right? This one is a Squire.
Yeah, but it's a Fender product.
But it's
a Fender
product. It is a Fender Bass 6. For as much as Bass 6 gets played in the studio, we didn't go with the Fender. We went with the Squire. So, which is actually a really nice one. It actually works really well.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with Squire instruments at all.
And I like this one in particular. It's for those of you that are not familiar, it's 6 strings tuned like a guitar with a guitar size neck. I mean, I have Strats that have bigger necks than this, to be honest. And so it's super comfortable. The strings are very close together. So it's not popping and snapping very well, because there's just no room to get your finger in there, at least not for me. But for playing lines and even chords and stuff, it gets very interesting.
Beatles used them a lot in the studio.
Really? I wasn't aware of that. Yeah,
they did.
Interesting. One step from a baritone, right?
And believe it or not, John Lennon was usually the culprit that played it.
Well, there's no transition from playing guitar to this. I mean,
when Paul was on the piano or the organ or whatever, then you pick up the Bass 6 to cover the bass.
And of course, for those of you not familiar, it does have a Jazzmaster style tremolo system, essentially, so you can whammy your bass, which
Yeah, and that would have never been a question that I would have thought of. Is like, we're talking about a bass. Well, does it have a whammy? Like,
right? But it can do some very cool, rockabilly style. That kind of stuff is real easy. High notes up here. Fast lines and that kind of stuff up here, kind of cool. I don't know how you do that on a 4-string. You'd be all
far away from a guitar.
It's so close, and on the upper strings, it's like a baritone guitar. You can really do some very cool things.
Yeah, interestingly, they don't make like a just a standard American version of that guitar. They do Squire versions, and then they do custom shop
versions, right? Yeah.
And there's nothing really in between, and that's always kind of been a bummer, because I think I would like if they just made just a standard American version of that, I'd buy one.
Yeah, I would too. But the custom
which
shop
is not
so
to
much.
downplay the Squire. It's just
No.
If I'm gonna set it, I only have a few instruments, and I don't want to offend them.
Don't want to offend the sensibilities.
I got no problem with them, but
right. But
they're
thoroughbreds.
They might be a little upset.
Yeah, the middle pickup is a weird duck. You don't often see that position for a bass, but it doesn't sound bad. Here's compared to the neck. It's not totally dissimilar. You start doing the two together like a Strat, it gets a little.
It's not bad.
It's like a funky kind of a thing almost.
Yeah, that's not bad.
And here's these two. Oops.
Still not bad, but not as good as the other two.
And here's all three. Now that I think about it, that kind of sounds like some Beatles records I've heard on the bass. It's a different kind of sound.
It is.
And I told you my favorite was with the neck and the bridge. More traditional sounding, I guess, more
Yeah,
normal.
it's got clarity and it's got beef.
And in case you're wondering, folks, we're going through an Aguilar tone hammer, the solid state version. So that's where all of our tones coming from. No extra preamps or mics or anything. And I'm not
I
sure what
didn't
this other
ask
switch
that, but I
does.
assumed that it was tone amp.
I think this other
I
is
just
this a phase switch maybe, or a kill switch? I'm not sure what the other switch does. It's a very unnatural thing to want to do. Yeah. I have no idea what they were thinking with bass.
I mean, you know, I think it was. You want to stick one of those on there? Why not?
It does look a little Jaguar reminiscent, you know.
It does
shape wise.
It kind of does. It's got that offsetness to it.
With a little bit of cut horn here, but
And they're
more of a
all,
strat
you know,
horn.
all the ones I've seen pretty much, Squire or the vintage shop one or the custom shop ones are that vintage sunburst, the
Sunburst
three-tone,
color, yeah.
right? Although I have seen some of the Squires that are in solid, you know, like seafoam green kind of things, right?
Right.
You see those every once in a while. But not
Black, I've seen black.
black, yeah, black too, black with a white guard, which is a classic look.
Yeah, yeah. I like the block inlays. I like the bound neck. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
really cool. I always like that anyway. And the large headstock, which you kind of want on a bass anyway, but I always like the large Fender headstock. So it's kind of a nice little package. And honestly, it's fun to play. You know, as a guitar player, or primarily a guitar player, it's fun to play, and it's
And you're
easy
right;
to
it's
play.
good to have it in the studio too because it kind of switches things up. I mean, you can play a different bass on every track, but the truth be known is the player knows. But once it's in a mix, it's just the bass.
It's bass, yeah.
Right? It's just the bass. It just kind of,
Exactly.
you know, we fuss. Oh my God, we fuss over that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, my tone, my tone, my tone.
Well, it's only to inspire
Oh,
the player,
so
right? That's all it
important.
is.
It's like,
But it makes you think differently. You know, makes you come up with different kinds of parts,
and it gives
makes
you more options as well.
Yeah. And if you're following along with a guitar part and doing a lot of, you know, runs together and that kind of thing, it makes it easy in a band context to figure out, and, you know, oh, he's doing that. Oh, look, I can do exactly the same thing. So, yeah. Well, anyway, there you go. The Fender Squire Bass 6.
Hey, do I get some kind of any kind of a like I know the Broyhill, but that'll be shipped.
Like
to me
that's not
later.
enough. He wants more. What else would you like?
I want some kind of a, you know,
Official
like
ceremony
maybe a small
or-
fireworks.
I'm
Small
sorry,
fireworks?
small fireworks. We can do something. Sure. Let's give him some fireworks and some cheers. There you go. There you go. You deserve it. You did well.
All right, I'm 1 for 3.
Not only under the 25, but under the traditional 20. So, very, very well done. Thanks everybody for joining us for another episode of Guess the Bass, where he actually did. I mean, that's the headline.
What a
so-
fluke!
And
We do
you
this
know,
again, it's going to have a different outcome.
I have
Yeah,
no,
we'll go
no
back
doubt
to
at all. Yeah, this was fairly mainstream compared to some of the ones we've done. So make sure you check the links below for some of the other shows. Look at our other episodes of Guess the Bass if you haven't seen the others, and you know, or listened. And in the meantime, for Reg, I'm Jet, and thanks for coming to Gear and Gigs. Take care, everybody.